Welcome our A to E drummers, acoustic to electric. Welcome to Sticks and Tones. I'd like to introduce you to our new Black Widow drum triggers. These are available for all size drums, not a problem. 24s and 26s we don't have at this stage, but if you want them, we can get them to order. Okay, so that's not a problem. Make them to order. Each one comes with these components. This is what you receive. You get your bar trigger, depending on what size that you ordered, of course. You get your attachment screws on each end. Now, they take the angle brackets, the adjustable angle brackets. You also get a female adapter for your TRS cables, which come with two plugs, one for rim shot, one for head. You also get your head trigger already mounted on a plate. You get your rim piezo also ready to go with a plug. You get the bolt with the two nuts in it. You get an extra set of nuts and bolts, which I'll explain to you in a minute what they're for. And you also get just this black piece of tape, which I'll also explain to you what that's for a little bit later. Okay, now what I would like to show you in some instances, like on this little tom here, we have 6 lugs, which is great, but sometimes you might only get 5. Now that happened with a little Gretsch kit that I had the other day. So what's going to happen is you generally will sit your trigger in, and with your bracket combinations, you have your bracket down or your bracket up, and you can find the top or the bottom lug will work. But of course, you're not going to have a lug opposite, are you? Once you've got one on one side, if you've only got a 5 lug drum, you're going to be into the shell. All right, so there's a little trick that you can do, which I'll show you. Now, I know that you're probably going to hate this thought, but if you're going A to E, it shouldn't matter anyway, that you're going to drill a hole into your drum shell. If that has to happen, it has to happen. Okay, so to find out where the middle is, I'll give you a little hint. So, of course, this drum's got 6 lugs, so just pretend it's got 5, and we're going from a lug set here into this middle section here where there are no lugs. What you do is you get a piece of tape and run it across like that. Okay, nice and easy. See here? So, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the centre of where the tension rod would go, and then the centre of where the tension rod would go. So that now looks like that. If you can see that, you see we've got two marks there. Now you need to find the centre, which is going to be in here somewhere, but we need the exact centre. So what you do, peel that off, sit it down on the bench, get your tape measure. Now whether you're doing this in feet and inches or centimetres, millimetres, whatever, you know how to do it. So that is 13 centimetres. So that means it's going to be 6.5 centimetres is going to be our centre. So I'm going to put a mark here at 6.5. Just double check, measure twice, cut once. That's perfect. Okay, so now I'll go to the same spot again, and I'll put that right where I had it before, on that tension lug, and on that tension lug, and you'll see there we have our centre. We're dead centre of those lugs. So now what you need to do is to drill your hole to line up. You just run that down. And you will measure, let's say you're going for the bottom lug. So you'd measure from the bottom lug to the top of the rim, which is 65 millimetres. So therefore, you're going to measure from the top there down to 65 millimetres. And that is going to be the spot where you're going to drill your hole. So that will line up perfectly with the opposite side. Everything will work out okay. Now, if you want to avoid drilling into or using your lugs and you just want to run in between the drums, that's fine too. To me, that's probably the preferred option because it's a lot less messy. What you will do there is you'll find out where you want to go using exactly the same system as this, as we just did there with those. So we've come down 65 mil for the lugs. But when you receive, or when you build your trigger, this is the ideal scenario. You've got a little bit of the knob showing at the bottom there, sticking out. You've got a little bit of thread in there, and you've got the 2 locking nuts. That's perfect. Now, to get that scenario, from that hole in the bracket, from there to 3 millimetres above the head with that is going to be 55 millimetres, approximately. Now, what's going to happen is when you're doing a snare drum, in particular, your lugs probably won't line up for you to put the trigger in. Yeah, the bottom one's going to be too low, the top one's going to be too high, and you're not going to get the adjustment that you need in your trigger to be able to do that. So what we do, same thing again, we'll do the same principle. We'll get the tape, run it across there like that, on that side, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side, although technically I'm going to use the same piece of tape both sides because I'll be spaced evenly, but I'm just being lazy, I suppose. And mark here, and mark here, here. I'm kind of just repeating what I don't need to do, but anyway. Okay, so I'll pull that off. That on there. That measures 14 centimetres between lugs, so I'm going to go 7 centimetres, or whatever you want to do, in inches, of course. I'll pop that back on. There and there, and the other side. It's going to be exactly the same, but I'll just, yeah, repetition sticks in your brain. There we go. And 7 centimetres again. Now, we're completely opposite each other. That's perfect. Now, we run our tape down. And down again. Now, using one of these little devils. We'll set that on there. Draw that line. You can see how straight I put the tape on. It's always a giveaway. And there. So you can see now I've done that. Now what I want to do is I want to mark 55 millimetres down from there. So as you can see, that's marked. We're ready to go. Now I know what you're thinking, oh God, don't drill into the shell, but sometimes you've got to do it, especially on a snare. So nice and slow. You don't want to splinter the timber. Okay, that's good. And this side. Okay, job's done. So pull the tape off. Now remember when I showed you the parts that we've got, we had 2 little nuts and bolts. That's what these are for, in case you need to do 1 hole opposite a lug, or you need 2 holes in a snare drum. That's what they're for. They're to attach your brackets. So let's undo these. Each one is fitted with a little spring washer and a washer. So you poke that through. Set your bracket on. If it'll let you, we'll do it this way, probably a little bit easier. Don't put the nuts in your mouth, kiddies. Very dangerous. Doesn't help much, does it? There we go. Okay, now, with your brackets, you want your brackets, the measurement that I've given you is for the brackets to be sitting up like that. Make sure we're the right way around. That's always a good idea. Just double check. You got your badge there? Yep, that's okay. We're the right way up. So that's what you need. Now this one here will do the same. Okay, so we're set. Now we'll get our trigger bar. Pop that in. If your bars, for whatever chance, are a little bit too big, see what I'm doing here? I'm turning it sideways and I'm putting it over like that. Spring washer and washer. Next thing I'll be doing is I'll be getting smaller screws. They don't need to be this long. If you have the ability and you're close to it, some Loctite is a good idea to put a little dabble on the end of these just to stop them from coming loose, because there's a lot of vibrations going on here. So that would also be a good idea. I just don't happen to have mine handy. Do I? No. Okay, so that's in. And that's in, nice and tight. Okay, so the next step is we take our little knob with the nuts on it, take the nuts off. There we go, turn the drum upside down. And now, you've also got your option of having centre or off-centre for your triggers. Of course, some people are a little bit fussy about hot spots. You know, not so bad, I don't mind. So I'll put mine in the centre, but other people can offset it so you don't have that hot spot. Okay, and then you put the nuts back on. And this one. Now a handy hint I'd like to show you with this, hopefully you can see this, is when I've got this in place, actually I'll probably just, better to show you with another nut. I'll get that. Also double check that your bar is centred. You can slide it backwards and forwards. These brackets are slotted so you can make sure you're right in the middle. When you're doing the top nut on your knob, what you want to do is you want to have a look at this. You can see how far up you should screw that knob into the plate and wind that knob up to that height. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit that there and wind it up, because you don't want that bolt to go through this and push on the plate underneath it. It'll throw everything off whack. So holding the knob at the bottom, don't ever do this by turning the wire. Always just turn the trigger. Wires are very sensitive. Just turn that down. And tighten that up. Now the measurements that I gave before, the 55mm, your brackets have to be sitting this way for the heights to work out right. So your bracket is like that one, as you can see there. Okay, so I'll adjust this other one around to that. Because the snare's very shallow, well this one is in particular, that's the way that you need it to be. Okay, so then this goes in underneath like that. A while ago I had a spirit level, and I've used that as a guide. Around there approximately, it could be a millimetre higher or so. So let's have a look and see how we've gone. Okay, we're probably a little bit too high there, as you can see by that. So what we do, turn that nut around a little bit and turn this around. Undo the nut at the bottom so you can turn the knob and bring that down a little bit. Or just a little bit more. Turn the nut again at the bottom and the knob. Turn that around so you're lowering the trigger. Make sure that this is on tight enough. Tighten your trigger to the top knob. If I had the right spanner, that would help. Okay, so the trigger is now locked on to the knob. I need to come up a little bit more, so I'll turn that so the knob's turning at the bottom. That is beautiful, maybe a little bit more, okay? Then I'll twist the nut down at the bottom and I'll lock that in place. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. So now we've now got the two nuts in place, one at the top and one at the bottom, and I've tightened them, they're locked in, that's not going anywhere. And as you can see, hopefully you can see, the level is perfect, it's spot on. Okay, now the next stage, you have the choice of drilling through your breather hole for your adapter. I'm going to try something a little bit different here. Don't know whether it's going to work, but I'll give it a try. The breather holes in this one are flanged. As you can see there, it's a little flange. So we've got to get that out somehow to put our adapter in. So what I've got here is I've got a countersink drill bit, see on there, and I'm going to try and drill this out. Okay, so we've removed the grommet. I've got the plate. I'm not actually going to reattach this because this drum is being recovered. So I'll save that until I've recovered it before I put it back on. So just for the point of exercise, I'm just going to put this in to show you how it all works. Oh, forgot to get the washer off. The washer too. Okay, and the washer, pop that back on. I'm doing a great job of making this look harder than it actually is. It's a talent of mine. I was blessed from birth with very fat fingers. Now that takes a 14mm spanner to do up. As you can see, that's in there now. If you really want to tighten that up, which you do, 14mm spanner. Okay, now what we do is we get our trigger bar. these up. Just before they get too tight, we'll just let them nip in. See that? You've got a bit of movement, so put it into the centre. There. And there. Okay, so now we're nice and tight. We're looking good. Looking good. Okay, now you have your wires here, so you cannot get this wrong. Okay, so that is your head trigger, clicks in. Then we have this little fella, your rim trigger. Now what I suggest with this, put it in, lock it in there, so you're connected. Work out your position of your snare. Most right-handed players will have their throw off on the left. I can imagine left-handed players would have their throw off on the right. Okay, so that being the case, you want to have your rim shot sensor close to this area here where you're playing. I mean, you'll still, depending on your sensitivity levels, you'll still get it across here, but having it closer to you will probably make a little bit more difference. Okay, now with this, now be very, very careful with this. It's had glue put over the top to protect the wires, okay, but you don't jiggle them because they can break away. So hold that very sturdy. You've got your double-sided tape on the back of that, which is quite strong. Okay, peel that off. Then find a spot. I wouldn't go directly above the bar, but I'd probably go around here where you're playing there, or around this side. If you're right-handed, you're probably going to do a lot of doubles on your left, so I'd probably go this side here, and about the centre, about an inch from the top, as you can see there. Now your other little bit of stuff that you got in your kit was this little piece of black tape. Now peel that away, and what you do is put that over the top of that sensor and push down to protect those wires. That's just, so you're covering up your piezo and you're protecting those wires. As you can see, it's just so that prevents them being pulled or tugged out. The other thing you might want to do now is, if you have some, is to get a zip tie, which we'll probably start including in the kit anyway, just to keep those intact, to keep them out of the way. Okay, so there we go. We've got our input jack there. We've got our trigger in. It's set at the right spot. Everything's in. Everything's tight. Everything's fine. Next step, we'll put the head on and then we'll give it a test. See how we go. We've gone this far. It's finally time to fit the head. Okay, so let's give this a crack. Now, I don't know how or when this happened, but I realised with this drill that I can just go down, I'll just pull the head down, just do it a little bit. You can see the head getting pulled a little bit. Okay, now I've put that, so you can see at this stage, doing the bottom head is purely cosmetic. What I want to do is see how that sounds to make sure everything's fine. So if I need to adjust anything, I can get in through the bottom. Okay, so we'll go and we'll test it, see how she sounds. If it's all good, we'll whack the bottom head on it, and away we go. So here we are, all done, all back together again. I'll be pulling it apart in no time because I've got to recover the whole thing anyway. A new wrap on there. Now, as you would have seen in that video, all that whole drum kit is done with these trigger bars, and they sound fantastic. They really do create a fantastic sound. I'm running a Pearl Mimic Pro, so lucky me. I know guys that have got my triggers on their Alesis kits. It works well. I know they've got them on TD27s, TD17s, that sort of stuff, so it's all fine, okay? So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you need any information or anything at all, please reach out to us at www.sticksandtones.com. And we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you. Ciao.